The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
The Batman is a 2022 American superhero film based on the DC comic books character Batman. It is a reboot of the Batman film franchise, and the film is directed by Matt Reeves. It stars Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne Batman, alongside Zoë Kravitz, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, John Turturro, Peter Sarsgaard, Andy Serkis, and Colin Farrell. The film sees Batman, who has been fighting crime in Gotham City for 2 years, uncover a corruption while pursuing the Riddler as a serial killer who targets Gotham's elite. Development began after Ben Affleck, who was cast as Batman in the DC Extended Universe in 2013. Affleck signed on to direct, produce, and co-write and star in The Batman. Ben Affleck would play, of course, the title character, with Jeremy Irons reprising as well as Alfred Pennyworth. Joe Manganiello was cast as Deathstroke as he appeared in the Justice League movie, and additionally Jared Leto expressed interest in reprising his role as the Joker from 2016's Suicide Squad. Initially, Affleck decided to step down as director as he felt it would be taking on too much, but still planned to star and produce the movie. At the time, Warner Brothers were re-evaluating the approach to superhero films following the release of Batman vs Superman, which led to Affleck's film being sidelined. Now a new director had to be found, and Matt Reeves soon headed the list. A longtime Batman fan, Warner Brothers felt he'd be right for the new movie. Reeves, though, didn't like Affleck's script, and said he would only join if he had full creative control. Reeves initially planned to keep the Batman's connections to the DCEU and spoke with Affleck during the writing process. But he soon reworked the story to focus more on Batman's early vigilante career and planned to cast a younger actor to play Batman. In August 2018, Affleck went to rehabilitation for alcohol abuse and was considered unlikely that he would reprise his role as Batman in the new film. And in January 2019, Affleck confirmed that he would no longer be playing Batman in the film. Affleck explained that he stepped down due to a combination of factors, including his divorce from Jennifer Garner, the tumultuous production of Justice League, his lack of enjoyment in the role at that point, and his alcohol problems. Affleck recalled that he had shown a version of the Batman script to a friend who said, "I think the script is good. I also think you'll drink yourself to death if you go through what you just went through on the Justice League." And so the search for the new Batman began. Robert Pattinson and Nicholas Hoult were the front runners, along with Aaron Taylor Johnson. But it was felt that Pattinson would suit the role perfectly, as Reeves liked his work in A Good Time in 2017. Pattinson had issued large franchise films since his work on the Twilight series, and he found those roles dull and wanted to avoid paparazzi attention. This meant he had not appeared in any of the Marvel Studios' Marvel Cinematic Universe, which made him desirable to Warner Brothers. Pattinson was also a long-time Batman fan, and pushed for the role as much as he could. Now, of course, as usual, when Pattinson was cast, there was a huge backlash from Batman fans, with Change.org petition calling to reverse the decision. Pattinson said he felt the response would have been stronger, and he liked the idea of being an underdog, meaning that there'd be less expectations to meet his performance. Christian Bale, who played Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy, supported Pattinson, encouraging him to make the role his own and ignore the critics. Bale likened the fan revolt to the backlash Heath Ledger got when he was cast as the Joker in 2008's Dark Knight. Now, I, like many others, was initially skeptical about the casting of Robert Pattinson. Unfortunately, the stench of acting in the Twilight series has always followed him around. Playing the angst-ridden teenage vampire who even glittered has lingered unfairly on Pattinson's career. Now, Pattinson has actually become a very good actor, choosing very heavy and challenging roles, steering away from the commercial pictures. In saying that, though, when he was cast, I too reacted with slight disappointment. In saying that, though, Pattinson is superb in this film. This is a new version of Batman, and he plays this emo, sullen version of Bruce Wayne and Batman very, very well. He may not have the physical presence of, say, Christian Bale, but he really brings a believable intensity to the role, as if he's obsessed with being Batman, as if Batman is a drug to him. Now, initially, I didn't like the portrayal of Bruce Wayne in this film. I found him to be sullen, almost depressive. But when you realize what Matt Reeves was inspired by, namely Kurt Cobain, and how he purposely did this, how he purposely steered the character away from the usual playboy billionaire mask that Bruce Wayne wears, to make him more reclusive and unapproachable, then you begin to understand what Matt Reeves was going for. This is a new version of Batman, darker, grittier, and more realistic than even the Dark Knight trilogy. And it really works. Batman is a loner. He's obsessive. Being Batman is like a drug which he cannot resist. He doesn't just do this to save Gotham. He doesn't just do this to avenge his parents. He does it because he loves doing it. As we always say, the Batman mask is Bruce Wayne's true face. I mean, let's be frank, to do this you have to be somewhat insane. Albeit that he's on the right side and trying to do right by the city, he does it for himself. Now initially when I saw the costume for the first time, I don't know, I was kind of disappointed. But then it grew on me during the film because you realize how practical this costume really is. Reeves wanted the Batsuit to be practical and feel as if Batman used spare parts to create it on his own. And the design team looked at tactical gear from Vietnam War to inspire this. The costume looks movable. You look like you can fight in it. It really does look like war gear. Now Batman in the film is around 30 years old and is not quite yet experienced as the crime fighter. Matt Reeves wanted to explore the character before he became fully formed. Reeves and Pattinson describe Batman as an insomniac who cannot delineate between his Batman persona and his recluse rock star public identity as Bruce Wayne. Pattinson said the film would question the nature of heroism and Batman is more flawed than traditional superheroes, unable to control himself, seeking to work out his rage and inflict his kind of justice. And this sums up this version of Batman perfectly. Also, this film entirely focuses on the Batman. It's all about him, as it should be. Now, I absolutely loved the casting of Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Farrell is completely unrecognizable and once again shows his versatility as an actor who can play any role he chooses, but does play particularly well as a bad guy. I love this version of Penguin in the film. He's Falcone's chief lieutenant, who operates the Iceberg Lounge, the nightclub where Selina works. He's not yet the crime kingpin we know him to be in the comics, and he dislikes being referred to as the Penguin. Reeves explained that the Penguin is a mid-level monster guy, and he's got a bit of showmanship to him. But you can see he's very ambitious. Farrell chose to wear a fat suit over gaining weight because he found he had suffered health problems when he gained weight for the television series, The North Water. Farrell even tested the costume at Burbank Starbucks when he got a couple of stares after ordering a latte in character, with nobody recognizing who he was. Farrell also fought hard for him to have his usual cigar, as we always see him having in the comics, but Warner Brothers would not relent, disallowing any of the characters to smoke tobacco on film. Now, Paul Dano as Edward Nashton, or the Riddler, is absolutely fantastic, as I knew he would be. Dano is a phenomenal character actor, and I love this version of the Riddler. Gone are the green question mark tights from the 1995 film in Batman Forever, played by Jim Carrey. Instead, we have here a serial killer who targets Gotham's elite citizens and live streams his crimes. The Riddler seeks to unmask the truth about Gotham, taunting Batman and law enforcement with his riddles. You can see the inspiration from the Zodiac Killer, a serial killer from the 60s and 70s whose identity to this day is still not known. The Zodiac Killer would use ciphers and riddles to throw the police off his trail, and said if they could work them out, he would reveal his identity. This is exactly how the Riddler plays out in this movie, and it's perfect. You can definitely see Dano also drew inspiration from Heath Ledger's portrayal as the Joker in 2008's Dark Knight. But for me, he is one of the scariest villains Batman has ever come up against in the film versions. I love the way they intertwine his character with modern, cult-like videos that even modern terrorists use today to inspire their followers. The Riddler's costume in the movie is completely based on the Zodiac Killer, and Dano covered himself in plastic wrap since he felt the Riddler would take extreme precautions to avoid leaving DNA at crime scenes. There's also a beautiful interaction at the end of the movie where you see the hint of what further could happen in the series. Then we have Zoë Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Catwoman. She is excellent as the nightclub waitress, drug dealing and cat burglar who meets Batman while searching for her missing roommate. Kravitz said the character is becoming a femme fatale and figuring out who she is beyond just someone trying to survive. She described her as a mysterious character with unclear motivations who represents femininity in contrast to Batman's masculinity. She said the pair are partners in crime, drawn together by their desire to fight for vulnerable people. Kravitz focused more on her Selina than her Catwoman persona because she did not want to distract from the character's emotional journey. She also portrays Selina as bisexual, like she is in the comics. Now, I thought Zoe was perfect for this role. She's enigmatic, tough, and sensual, and just exudes the cat-like sensuality. This is the best interpretation of Catwoman since Michelle Pfeiffer's 1992 take in The Batman Returns. I also love the sexual tension between her and Batman. It's fascinating to watch as these two conflicted characters are drawn together. Jeffrey Wright is excellent as James Gordon, an ally of Batman in the Gotham City Police Department and the one true, honest officer. Wright described Gordon as relative to the Gotham City Police Department, to Batman, to justice, and to corruption. Similar to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, Gordon begins as the GCPD lieutenant in The Batman, allowing his progression to commissioner to be depicted in subsequent films. In this film, Gordon plays a huge part, as he works side by side with Batman. Now, I love Wright in this role. He really brings a gravitas to the role that you haven't quite seen since Oldman's take. I'll still need to get used to Andy Serkis as Alfred Pennyworth. Serkis is an excellent actor, but Garn is the more older father-like figure portrayal of Alfred. In this series, he is more tough and looks ex-military and seems more like a version of Pennyworth used in the Gotham series, where he was ex-army and Bruce's trainer rather than just his butler. And they have quite a hostile relationship and rarely speak. Pattinson described Alfred as Batman's only confidant, and even though Pennyworth thinks he's gone insane. There is a touching moment though later in the film between the two characters that will hopefully play out in the further films. John Turturro as Carmine Falcone is perfect, and he really adds to this role perfectly. Now, I love this movie from start to finish. I love the focus now more on the detective side of Batman rather than just the crime fighting side. Now, I won't lie, after the Dark Knight trilogy ended, I was sad, especially when I heard the new direction my favourite character was going to be taken in. I hated the DCU version of Batman. Affleck wasn't a great choice, and using Batman alongside the Justice League just didn't work for me. It was too over the top and too fantastical. And Batman, for me, has always been special because he's grounded in reality. Yes, he's a comic book character, but he's real. He's authentic. He's flawed. He's dark. When I heard the new direction this film was going in, I was cautiously optimistic. But I was waiting to hear when the Warner Brothers executives would change the direction and say it's too dark, it's too adult. Thankfully, that never happened, and I'm amazed that this film got to see the light of day. Now, I'll still say I'd love to see an R-rated version of Batman, where there are no limits, but this film is fantastic. This is a brilliant adult take on this most iconic character. Gone is the Caped Crusader. Here, we have the even darker Dark Knight. Grounded in reality. It almost feels like you're watching real life play out on screen. Now, some people have criticized the running length of the movie as it nearly is 3 hours long, but frankly, I wouldn't have wanted to cut anything out. You need to let this story evolve. You need to let it breathe. You need to let this film noir play out in front of your eyes. As all these characters are so multi-layered and complex, and Batman himself is so fascinating. Also, the use of Something in the Way by Nirvana was a perfect choice and just gave you an idea of what Matt Reeves was going for. This is a gothic grunge take on Batman, and it reintroduces the Batman to a brand new audience like never before. The Batman is a mature, fantastic film, made with love and passion by Reeves, superbly acted by the cast, and it truly understands who Batman really is. The Batman gets a 9.5 out of 10.